it's like you get to this point and people are like, oh, you're doing a bit better, you're starting to improve. And you notice that the support is there, but it kind of drops away a little bit. And I think that's a really dangerous time for anyone going through this. Is I was happy, and I knew I was happy because I had a solution. I absolutely had a solution, and that was to go and take my own life.
Mate, how do you get this pencil to work?
Yeah, thanks.
What do you get?
Yeah, it's pushed down on top.
Oh, it's a pacer. Oh.
Too technical, mate.
Wow. All right. Welcome to the new episode of Trademutt's 120 Grit podcast, the podcast for the working class.
Yeah. You
know it, and so do I. Now, we are lucky to have a good mate of ours, a bloke that dons our shirts on the regular basis. He's the owner of Hammered Constructions. He's got a Masters of Business Administration, and he's an all-round thrill seeker. The man himself, Mr. Hamish Clarke.
How you doing?
Mate, welcome.
Cheers.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to it.
You're certainly not camera shy.
No, not at all. Pretty hard when you're this good looking, right?
We have had you locked in for a while now. We've been wanting to have this chat for a good while.
Indeed. Yeah. And I've been looking to get it out there for a bit too.
Where did we meet? Was it
at the Brett's trade show?
Yeah, we did.
Aaron
yeah.
Applefield.
I was riding solo there too.
Yeah, I was away.
Yeah. We went and had a chat.
I'm always on my own when we have to have the hard conversations.
Not today.
God.
It's a three-way chat here.
So yeah, that was Apples. That's right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Aaron Applefield himself.
Yeah, because I'd been in conversation with him, and then he goes, "You should talk to these boys."
How does he know all the good blokes? What is it with Apples?
He's just a good dude.
What does he know all the good blokes?
Oh, he looks after people.
Although it's really only one.
Your number must not be in his phone.
Mate, I'm on speed dial.
Love it.
Well, I guess we should get a little backstory. I've never met a builder before who's got a master's. Two masters.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go figure. I didn't think tradies could even go to uni. Although we've been to uni.
I actually have been to uni.
Have you?
Yeah. I went to Marcus.
Good. Well, I was referring to QUT.
Well, we've also been to a university.
Yeah. Me too.
Did some carpentry maintenance at one.
Absolutely. Oh, there's
Swung a
nothing
door.
better than rocking up to the university to check on your job when you got your full gown on for graduation. You just look at the faces of the academics like, oh.
God.
Yeah.
So, I guess, did you plan on going to uni?
Not at all.
When you were at school?
Not at all.
Did you plan on getting a trade?
Not at all. I wanted to go out west and work on the farm just like my dad. And obviously they had properties before, but they'd sold out a long time before I hit the scene. And
bloody sellouts.
Yeah, I know.
Probably lucky now, mate.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, I went out west as a ringer for a bit, up to Cape York, and certainly put some man into me, that's for sure.
Yeah, right.
Not like that. We're a long way from anywhere, but I tell you, it still stayed straight.
Broke back joke.
Yeah, that's right.
Just for the listeners.
Yeah. No. It was an interesting year, being a young lad and all. But then headed back into town and realised that $120 a week wasn't really going to cut it.
Is that what you get paid?
Yeah, you're a trainee. It was nothing.
$120, but then you've got your rent. I suppose you get your rent.
It was a long time ago.
Food and
I look a lot older than I actually look.
Oh,
well, I like to think so.
Spring chicken.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you didn't really know what you wanted to do?
Not at all. I went through school, really struggled through school.
How so?
I just didn't want to be there. I got bullied really badly, even from the beginning. But my first day at school, I came home and said, "That's it, Mum. I'm done. I've learned everything I need to know. I'm going out west."
What age? When you
Six.
finished school?
So
at age 6.
Age 6, yeah. Wow. So Mum was like, "Well, we've got a 12-year battle on our hands here."
Wow.
Anyway,
I've learnt everything I need to know.
Yeah. Mate, I
a crash course.
6 years old.
Mate.
Loved it.
How the bullying piece? What?
Yeah, look, it definitely started really early on. I actually got pulled out of that school because of the bullying.
Oh,
so I had
wow.
big wing nut ears and
Same.
I made it tough. And like kids can be cruel. They don't, look, definitely at that age you don't know, but you don't realise the things you say are very hurtful. But you've got to grow that resilience as well. So a little bit here and there, but people need to know when to stop. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
My on the back of my Year 12 rugby jersey, wingnut.
Yeah, mine said ADD.
ADD?
Yeah.
Really?
It's because I had it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fair enough.
And everyone just, like I had some much meaner names than that. But,
Yeah,
no,
right.
it wasn't much fun.
So this is pre social media days.
Oh, very pre-social
obviously.
media. Yeah, it was relentless.
But
Absolutely relentless.
But I guess at least you got to escape it at home.
Yeah, I did. I have to say, my family have always been extremely supportive. I've come from an excellent family, like no divorce, no hard luck stories, none of that. A very stable family.
Yeah,
and I
right.
think that's really critically important.
Yeah, for sure.
And it probably helped me later in life, inadvertently.
Strong support network.
Absolutely.
Is that bullying stuff? Is that stuck with you? Like, is that
Yeah,
has it scarred you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'd be lying to say it hadn't, because it wasn't until much later in life when certain things happen, which we'll discuss in a minute, that it just boiled up inside me. And I'm like, where's that coming from?
Yeah, wow.
I just don't even know. You don't expect it. And it just blindsides you.
Yeah.
Absolutely blindsides you.
Yeah. I suppose, we will talk about that, the importance of working through stuff. It's critical, really, isn't it, in the long run?
Absolutely.
Well, mate, how did you get into carpentry?
So I'd been labouring for a builder from about 15, just helping out and that sort of stuff. And I came back and laboured for him again. And he's like, "Do you want an apprenticeship?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. I'll give it a go. I got, nothing else I want to do, and I like working with my hands. I really enjoy it." And got into it. So
Yeah, right. So you did that obviously locally here in Brizzy?
I did, and that was an interesting experience. I wouldn't say he was the greatest boss in the world. I was sacked for something that I wasn't even on site for. That was a laugh. Again, there was quite a bit of bullying. I'm not sure he recognised that. He obviously had his own demons to deal with. But, it certainly, I felt pretty bad. But having my time in the Cape really helped me, because other guys were getting bullied and might be borderline in tears, and I was like, oh, I can take that. I've had a bit worse than that. But
so are we talking like building site style bullying, where it's called like, I don't know, hazing? Like that?
No,
like,
that stuff doesn't worry me.
Yeah.
I don't take that kind of crap anyway.
Yeah.
It was more like, you are physically the dumbest person I have ever met. Just relentless. And you're like, I've never been shown, I've never been taught. How can you expect me to suddenly be awesome when I've been shifting piles of bark for 6 months at your house? I can't hang a door. No surprises there.
Well, we now know that stuff is all like deflecting,
of course,
other people's their own pain, their own unhappiness onto you. But at the time,
at that age,
that doesn't make it any easier.
No, it doesn't. And until you can get out of that situation and gain perspective, see the forest from the trees, you just you're in it and you don't understand.
Yeah, there was an interesting thing. I saw it on LinkedIn last night. It was a guy. It was shot in America, and there's this Uber driver driving through a car park, and this bloke's sort of backing out. And he almost had a prang. And the guy in the car that was backing out comes out and just starts like abusing and yelling and screaming at this bloke. And the passenger in the Uber was saying to the driver, like, why aren't you reacting? And like the driver was just sitting there smiling and like sort of just waving at him. And it's obviously a put together thing, but he said, people are like garbage trucks. People, they collect lots of crap that's going on in their lives, and every now and then they've got to dump it somewhere. And
absolutely. Every
now and then you're the poor bastard that's got to cop it. So rather than screaming back at them and creating more garbage, just smile and wave and keep about your day.
That's it. You can't have an argument with someone who doesn't want to have one.
Yeah,
it's really simple.
Well, I was talking to my uncle about that as well last night, about how there's lots of stuff happening at the moment in in the media, and lots of different positions and what people's ideas are, but you can't really state anything anymore and have an actual argument, because no matter what you put out there, someone's just like, mate, you're a dickhead, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, they just like, there's no form of actual arguing or communicating like that anymore.
No,
it's changing so weird. We are going on a bit of a tangent here, but online, you can't have those sorts of things. It'll be scary in the long run.
Yeah, I think I think everyone is entitled to an opinion. I think that's the greatest thing about Australia. You can have an opinion and not get shot for it. I think that's important.
But people are at the moment, I reckon.
Yeah,
but you've also got the birth of the internet troll who just do
that's
it
what
for
I mean.
shits and giggles. Like, it's not. It's
they just roll people up,
and it's kind of funny because it's like just poking the bear to get a reaction. You know what I mean?
But
so
that's
like,
and I think
it's counterproductive to
it
actually being able to have a debate. But
long term, I think it's going to have a pretty big impact. But so did you finish your apprenticeship with him?
Oh, I didn't. No, it was actually the best thing that happened to me moving on. I won't go into detail about how it went down, but I was pretty upset, and I moved on, and I started working with this bloke, and he was really good to me. He just taught me everything, and like it built my confidence. Yeah, and then I left him, and I went and worked for another really good builder, and my confidence grew, and it grew, and I became a good tradesman. Like a great tradesman, and I don't mean that arrogantly. Like I was hungry to learn everything, and I just put 110% into it. Yeah, really loved it. Yeah,
well, it's an important part of when you're doing any sort of trade is being across as much as you can and asking as many questions.
Yeah, and you really don't flourish. You don't realise it, but one day it just connects.
Yeah, I had that day. It was a cracker.
And things aren't getting, you're not making mistakes you used to make.
Yeah, well, the process, because it's, especially with carpentry, it's you get there and you've got to know what it's going to look like in 6 months' time. Yeah. But you've got to be able to have done it a few times, then you can be like, oh yeah, I know how this is going to turn out now.
Yeah, you see the plans in your head, it's in 3D.
Yeah.
Thing is with tradies is not every tradie is a good teacher.
That's 110%.
Not everyone has the temperament to put the time in, you know what I mean? Yeah. And like, unfortunately for those people, they're just not cut out to have an apprentice. No. Because it will create that bad experience.
And it's a deflection as well, because often if the apprentice makes a mistake, it's them venting their frustration for the fact that they haven't taken ownership over that. And they really need to.
It's a lot easier to blame them.
So many people just go to work as well, and they just don't want any outside noise. They just want to go there, do their work, no distractions, and just piss off. You know what I mean?
And that's fine.
Which is totally fine, but that's probably not conducive to, really good teamwork, which obviously... you need. Yeah, you need. So, but that's just part and parcel. So
yeah, we're all cut from different cloths.
Exactly right.
So you started your own business when you were quite young.
23, yeah. So 2008, we had a bit of that GFC, and the builder I was working for went broke. And,
golden fried chicken.
Oh, yeah, the golden fried chicken.
Certainly wasn't golden.
Haven't you, GFC?
It was raw.
Still at servos.
Yeah, so I just got a new ute and a job and a bloody big loan. And, just starting out. And anyway.
A loan for the car?
For the car, yeah, absolutely. And very little else to my name. And, I had a bit of work with some people, but I went out and I formed a company structure, and I started, contracting and taking on jobs and quoting jobs. And I did realise I had a bit of a knack for that stuff. And I enjoyed that, but I didn't have the business acumen behind it. And that really let me down. And I made some mistakes. Absolutely, I did. I got taken advantage of, for sure, and it put me in a big financial hole, and it was really tough to get out of. So, yeah.
Ouch, mate. I just hate like that. Just the thought of that makes me like, that's just an awful position to be in.
Yeah, it is.
Especially as a young bloke.
Yeah, and you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And you like, going back that far, there was no one really to turn to. And you'd turn to people and you go, can you tell me how to do this? And they couldn't tell you because they didn't know. So you're getting bad advice from people who don't know what they're doing. So, and there's no precedent set. It's a shame.
Marto from Triple M reckons the only way he'll go back to building is cost plus.
Yeah, well,
he loves cost plus.
Who doesn't? Well, but there's still ways to get there and make it profitable. You can turn it on its head, but you've got to be willing to work on yourself.
So how did that, being in that financial hole, I mean, bring it back to mental health type stuff.
Well, it wouldn't have felt like a hole.
But, I mean, finances and relationships, two of the biggest factors. That,
yeah. Look, luckily for me, I was single at that point. I did have a relationship that wasn't going very well. It was over a period of a couple of years that it just went worse and worse. And I actually had a job when my parents had to call up and call the client and say, Hamish is struggling with depression really badly. He's just going to have to take a break. And, and I wasn't really living at home at that time either. So that was good of them to recognise that and try and get me some slack. But it still doesn't cut you any slack, because at the end of the day, people are paying for something.
So what brought that on? Like, where were you? How did you get to that position there?
Yeah, it was just like, the frustration, the financial stress, not being able to vent it and deal with it, and not being able to. I think as tradesmen, you got a bit of pride built into you, so it's you don't want to seek the help a little bit.
So this is a few, obviously, when you like. This isn't when you first got the car, first started the business. This is 6, 12 months in?
12 months in.
Right.
Things are going okay, but then you realise, that you've underquoted it, but you didn't realise it at the time, and everyone else is being paid and there's nothing left. And you don't realise your true cost of operation. And anyway, so, basically had some help to get out of that situation from the parents. Lucky they were in a bit of a position to do that, but I did go out west and to the mine, to the gas field, and work my guts out there. And at that point in time, I also recognised that I needed to learn a hell of a lot more about business. Like I'd done a trade contractors course, and it wasn't, it really didn't help. Yeah, so I don't know if you want to talk about that, we can. But
You're talking Cert 4 in building.
Yeah, Cert 4 in building there's very little that teaches you actually about how to run a business. You can be a builder, you can read the code, you can do contracts, but no one tells you how to put your overheads together, how to charge. And it is very simple when you know how, but no one's able to teach that. And I think a lot of people are risk averse in teaching that as well.
And the other thing that I find that builders, well, not just builders, but tradies in general, don't like going out and sort of owning that they don't know something.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
I always used to think I was dumb. I was like, how come they know that? I don't think they
know either.
Yeah, but they don't.
Everyone's learning on the fly, mate. This is one of the things that aggravated me a lot is like, even just in the processes of on the tools, there are so many different ways to do the same thing. And
Absolutely.
It's like, well, what's the best way? I don't know. Like, just tell me how this is supposed to be done, and I'll just do it that way. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It goes the same into business, but it's just, I think there's so many people out there just winging it who just don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Well, it wasn't until I did my second degree. I did the Masters of Business after the Masters of Construction Practice. And because I did that and I realised it still didn't give me what I needed. Mm-hmm. And I realised that people at the top were willing to admit that they didn't know something and that it was okay. And I went, oh, how about that? And then I just started open to the whole world, asking questions. Like I've always said to my guys, like, there's no such thing as a stupid question because there really isn't. Because the reason you're asking it is because you don't know, and that's okay. So, yeah, it really changed how I thought about everything and how I teach as a tradesman as well, for sure.
Yeah,
100%.
cool.
But so, well, I mean, it's credit to you for going out and upskilling in that area because, I mean, you hear it all the time. Like, blokes that are just, well, one of the other big ones is people that haven't even structured it in a way where they're paying themselves a wage.
Oh, I wasn't.
They're just dipping into their company credit card on their, when they go shop at Woolies.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
But people just don't realise what they need to be doing. They just think, oh, well, there's a pot of money here. I'll just keep spending this.
Yeah, that's right. And people don't realise they're actually sometimes working for wages if they're lucky. And a lot of the time they're not even working for anything. It's not until that freight train stops and all the carts behind it just come slamming in. And that's what happened to me because I just lost the plot.
So run us through that point where you'd started your building company. Your parents had called up a client. They'd pulled you out and said, you need to...
Yeah, so I got through that job. And then that was when I started doing my university degree. And, I think really looking back on it, I was seeking that knowledge and trying to just get through that situation. That was my way of dealing with it, right? But I going to university was nothing. I was always told I could probably never go to university. You will not make it. You won't cut it. It's going to be too hard. Anyway, so...
Who was telling you this?
Oh, I heard it from... you hear it.
Not name names, but in a general consensus.
Yeah, people
just peers
close to me. And and it's just like they wanted to see me do it, but they just knew that I wasn't necessarily cut out for it.
So do you think that was more in terms of them...
Past performance.
Not wanting to see you fail or
Probably.
being worried that you might fail and sort of being protective of you?
Yeah, definitely. I think they're definitely protective of you because they know how much you struggled through school.
But what are you going to do? It's like...
I needed to give it a go, and I did. And I actually surprised myself because I wanted to do it, and I realised that doing a trade actually made... Like, I struggled with maths, but learning, Pythagoras' theorem for 3, 4, 5 to square things, suddenly I got better at maths, running measurements, and I got a confidence from it, and the confidence is what got me through. We had an engineering component. I definitely struggled with that, but I got through it. And... it just goes to show to all the tradesmen out there that you absolutely can do it. You really can.
Get him down the barrel. Get him down the barrel.
Honestly, I say this to a lot of people, right? People think that, I was born dumb. You were not born dumb. You may not have had the skills to do it, but you can learn. Yeah. Anyone can learn if they are willing to give it a go.
You got to put your hand up.
You do. You absolutely do. And you have to take that ownership and you really need to go for it because I've met people who have said, I'm the stupidest person ever. And you watch them flourish in a couple of weeks of just giving them a bit of encouragement and letting them stretch themselves.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That gives me the warm and fuzzies.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
I
can hear the passion in your voice and I can see you, buddy.
I love it.
Not sure whether to tell us or tell them or tell everyone.
Yeah, well, mate, hopefully we get enough listeners on this podcast and you can.
That's cool. Good advice.
Yeah.
So that back to the depression piece. Did that come about because of the work, or was that already there?
No, I think through school I had undiagnosed depression. Like I'd been to psychologists before. My parents had got me in. Like Mum was really, really forward in that. Because, knowing what other people in the family had, gone through and how it's affected them, she had been a front runner for that. So she's pushed me through, and it got dealt with, but the psychologists I'd seen didn't give me enough. It wasn't. And I think also when you're dealing with, anyone, for example, if someone's going through a tough time, chances are the reason they're struggling with it is because they've never done anything tougher. So to them, that's everything. And if they can't handle it, it's because they haven't developed the skills to handle it yet. So that's how you build resilience, by going through it and getting out the other side, right? So I hadn't really got through that. And then the depression, I got diagnosed at 18 after I came back from the Cape, because I copped some tough times up there for sure. And my dad said, I barely talked to anyone for about 6 months, really. It was just like, I'm a very talkative person, very talkative. And so it was affecting me. Anyway, so it wasn't my first brush with depression at school. And I definitely struggled with it through school, but it wasn't diagnosed. Turned 18 and I spoke to a good friend of mine who, very successful lady. And she said, look, you should go and talk to this guy. I've got it. I'm not ashamed of it. But at that time, we're talking, geez, what was I? I'm 33 now. Like we're going back 17 years. And it was a bit taboo. And I had to get on these drugs, and they take about 8 weeks to kick in. And you feel quite ill in the beginning, but eventually you build up that tolerance, and it completely turned my world around. But what I realised was the drugs are still not the solution. You need to have the other half, which is working on yourself. And I hadn't worked on myself because I was too young to realise it. And that was really important, because you can go to the doctor and get antidepressants tomorrow, but it will not solve your problems. You need to be ready to work through that. It is. It's definitely a Band-Aid, and it helps. I'm still on antidepressants. I've been through a lot of antidepressants. I've been on huge doses of antidepressants at times. But now I have the skills to work through those thoughts and to be okay with those thoughts. Everyone has these thoughts, and they can get very graphic, and you think you think you're crazy, but you're not, and everyone has them, but you don't realise it because you're in that situation again.
Yeah. Well, you only know what you know.
That's it.
That's just,
Yeah.
It's such a reoccurring thing.
It is, yeah. So, and then obviously when I got through this stuff, like struggling with relationships, not having good ones, and just, I had very little self-worth. That definitely played in, which once that happened and I felt like I was useless, I'm a crap businessman. I'm not that great at anything. You know what you say to yourself sometimes. People are brutal to themselves. Like people say things to people. Imagine what they say to themselves.
So this was all happening while you'd sort of gone out to the gas fields.
Yeah, going out to the gas fields, and I'm struggling through it. And then I got made redundant, and then and that really hurt. And
you were already still trying to climb out of this financial hole.
And it was helping. But I like the company went out the door anyway, and then I had a series of redundancies. I got another job with a construction company, and I sort of got to the point, and 6 months in, about to get made permanent, they just pulled me down and they go, actually, you're being made redundant today. And that hurt again. And and I just didn't feel like I could make a go of anything. Like I really felt really, really worthless. And it was really, then everything starts, like the bullying at school, it comes up, well, I was told at school that I was worthless, and then you think you're worthless. So you have zero self-worth.
So you start to kind of remember when you're already down, you start to remember all these things that keep reinforcing your current state of emotions. Being like, oh, that's a
there's a thing
bit
for
of thunder
it.
outside.
Yeah, I was like, I got a storm alert on the watch before. Told me the old hectopascals had dropped.
So
Love it. I thought someone was strong. I thought Guardy or someone had the shits and was throwing something on the ceiling.
Skip or something.
Sorry about that. We were just right.
Sorry, listeners.
We were just right in a deep bit.
Yeah.
But those thoughts that reinforce the way that you think you already feel. It's all right. You won't be on camera that bit. Yeah, those thoughts that reinforce the way that you think you feel, just to justify it, not to.
It's you're in a loop. You're in a thought pattern, and your reality is all you know, and it may not be the actual reality. So then the things that people say to you hurt more, and it just hurts, and it just drives you into the ground. And it's a thing they actually refer to as learned helplessness, and you learn to become stuck in that pattern because you're not getting out of that pattern. A normal person would go, I've had a bad day, I'll get through it. Someone with depression, they just keep going through the loop.
Well, this is like we met a guy yesterday. I'll keep him nameless because he doesn't know, but he was in a serious car accident, and his lawyer actually wanted him to go see a psychologist due to the PTSD from the car accident. And he said a really interesting thing to us yesterday. He said, I went to the psychologist. I wasn't really wanting to go. He's like, I went there, and instead of him sitting me down and trying to march out what was going on with me, he just was showing me like the power of the mind. And he's like, for the first minute, think of a pink elephant, right? All I want you to do is for the next minute, just think of a pink elephant. He's like, yeah, all right. Obviously, everyone can do that. And then he's like, now for the next minute, I want you to think of anything but a pink elephant. And like, obviously, you can't think of anything else but a pink elephant.
Landed in your head.
And he's like, that is exactly, what traumatic things are that happen to you, or any sort of event that isn't dealt with.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
If you don't deal with that shit, it is going to be in the back of your head all the time. Yep. So you need to process it and get it out the other side. Which
absolutely.
I was like, yeah, wow, I never heard it explained so easily like that before.
Yeah, and I think initially too, I was very reluctant to get on the drugs because I thought it actually changed me as a person. I'm like, I'm going to be this zombie or
robot.
Yeah, I just won't be me, jovial and a good dude.
Yeah.
And anyway, but it absolutely doesn't.
Yeah.
If anything, it just rides out the lows. And I like to say it's one half of the solution, but it's not the solution.
Very interesting that you talk. I mean, it's awesome that you talk openly about this stuff, right? But one of my cousins is a chemist, and I mean, the amount of people who are actually on antidepressants is massive. It's one of the most prescribed medications.
Yeah, because it's an easy thing. Like, as in, if you're a doctor, right? I'm a doctor. I have a patient come in. Oh, right. It's going to be a lot of work to run them through a mental health plan. Here, just take a couple of drugs and ship you out, because it is easier. It's a numbers thing.
It's a Band-Aid.
Yeah,
for sure.
But I think more importantly is the fact that the number of people out there who are actually struggling.
That's what I mean. Yeah, but the thing is,
this is it. Yeah. I think that I look back on what I've gone through, and I know I'm not the only one. It's taken me a long time to get comfortable about talking this.
Yeah.
And but I think back to some of the guys that were bullying me at school and like giving me such a hard time, and I've sort of heard through the grapevine that they had a really tough life. So it was just them deflecting.
It's the garbage truck.
Yeah, they are. And this is a thing. And as I got, like a friend of mine said in later life, a similar thing to the garbage truck. People put thing on a coffee table, and it's on you if you pick it up.
Yeah.
Like, put it down. You can pick it up, but you don't have to. So
one of the most interesting things, that you talking about going through all that stuff, on the gas fields, and at that young age and everything you've done. It's so common for young blokes, particularly, because you're looking for your sense of purpose in life,
and
who you are, your sense of belonging, your role. You want to play a role in life and be useful, and know that you can do that well.
Yeah.
And that's all anyone wants, is to feel useful and valued and
be
purposeful.
And I think definitely you want a bit of recognition.
Yeah, for sure.
Your peers to say you're a good bloke.
100%. Yeah, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's like everyone does need that. I mean, I think a lot of people will probably say they don't, but the reality is that's what you do.
Well, you find too, coming into the workforce, that you've come out of school where people are like, oh, that was a good job, well done. And then there's none of that. Like, the best thing you can hope for, particularly, on some of these sites and places up north, is if you're not getting berated, then you are actually doing all right. So
yeah, but I think
that's wrong.
Well, we're like Dan and I, I've got getting staff and stuff on now, and like it's going to be great because I've always wanted to be able to build that culture that I didn't have. So it's sort of like when people do a good job,
recognize it.
That's absolutely. You've done a great job.
Yeah. But all it's going to do is make them keep wanting to do more of that, and it's beneficial for everyone, right?
Absolutely.
Yourself, for them.
During my trade, I couldn't have thought of ever where I did a job and there was like, oh yeah, that's you've done a good job.
I could say the same thing. I don't think I ever got told I did a good job.
Where that was ever said. And and I'm not saying that I deserved it. I'm saying that even some.
A bit of positive reinforcement is
like
called that for a reason.
I mean, shit, mate. It's and the other thing, it's not your God-given right to be given praise or to be helped along, but that it goes such a long
But it
way
lets you
to
know
building
that
that.
you've done it right. You know?
Yeah, but like shit, or even just saying, it may not be the greatest job, but you put in some bloody good
Gave it a
effort there,
shot.
mate. Good work.
Again, to my point, all anyone wants is to feel valued.
Absolutely.
Valued, yeah, that's the word.
And that's
absolutely.
how you get it, And I think it's completely fair enough. And I think anyway, that's a segment. That'll be a short. That'll be a short bit.
I'll just put that there so you can
I
know where to
guess.
clap off. So you were back from the gas fields. You've been made redundant.
Yeah, so whole
through where you
host of emotions. I'm buying things to fill the void.
Like what?
So like new dirt bike.
Dirt bikes are cool.
Yeah, I love dirt bikes.
They're
Used to ride
expensive,
all the
though.
time. Oh, they're expensive. Put it on loan. No worries. Because I don't have financial problems.
I thought we called them dirt squirters.
Yeah, dirt squirters.
Yeah, so like, and that's all well and good when you're making money, but when you're that depressed and you can't work, it doesn't help your cause, does it?
So you had the car loan. You still had money owing on other jobs or something, did you?
Yeah, I had to pay. I did pay some of that stuff out. I did pay it out. Yeah.
And then now you got the motorbike.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
you're really just trying to fill voids.
Yeah, definitely filling the void.
Was the psychology around it? I need this to make me happy, or hey, everyone, look at what I've got.
No, it was like, oh, that looks cool. That'll make me happy.
Yeah,
That'll make me happy.
Yeah, and you're like, but you don't realize it at the time, but you're searching for things to fill that little void to like get that little rush and make you feel a bit better about
I've
it.
never seen anyone in a car ad having a shit time, unless you're not driving the car.
Yeah, well, all those idiots yelling out a water jeep.
Yeah.
So did I. I don't reckon they're not having a good time.
Yeah, so no, it's interesting, and like once you start doing that, I think people, I reckon that's a real something for people to watch out for. If you watch someone who's just going along, and then all of a sudden they've got just buying everything, like going mad.
Yeah, right.
It's weird how it works.
Is that like related to like how they talk about? Well, none of us here would know, so this is a stupid question. But
No,
like
it's
the midlife crisis,
Yeah, I reckon it's probably a
where
similar
people
thing.
are buying like
It would have been like this in the 1800s. It would have been a midlife crisis because everyone
Yeah,
died
when
at
it
like
gone.
50. So yeah, right
Yeah.
now.
I'd be out buying swords and horses.
lucky we don't have the plague. Oh God.
But no, that is exactly
Yeah,
what you're
like
saying.
that's
Yeah.
what I guess that's what people talk about.
Well,
It's like
I called it my quarter life crisis.
yeah,
Quarter life
25, losing it.
yeah,
Absolutely losing my shit.
yeah.
Because I genuinely didn't feel like I was getting anywhere in life. I'm 25, I've been working for quite a while now, and I got nothing to my name, and according to myself, I'm the dumbest person on the earth because I've been told that. So it must be true, right?
So what did you think that you were supposed to be doing? Like if you were in that position there in a perfect world,
Yeah, what was your perception of
what was
success?
that?
My
Like
perception of success at that point in time was being able to pay for my own shit,
Yeah,
being able to pay for rent week to week,
yeah,
and being able to just have a like from even just for me having a business that I could actually make money out of, because I wasn't.
I think that's perfectly
valid.
Okay, valid. Yeah, to want to be able to do those things.
Everyone wants that, but I was really struggling. I go through really profitable times and very unprofitable times.
And was that because of a lack of understanding of how to manage finances or how to quote
Everything.
Everything, yeah.
Everything. Like I was good at putting quotes together, but I didn't know how to come to my overhead and the actual costs that go with it. So
Yeah. So let's talk about sort of where you ended up.
Yeah. So anyway, so having a tough time, sort of crappy relationship, and just everything welled up in me. And I had started seeing a psychologist when I was on the gas fields and a psychiatrist. So twice a week I'm seeing somebody and getting the drugs, and they put me on some pretty heavy stuff. And I'm chatting, and then it's like you get to this point and people are like, oh, you're doing a bit better, you're starting to improve. And you notice that the support is there, but it kind of drops away a little bit. And I think that's a really dangerous time for anyone going through this. Is I was happy, and I knew why I was happy, because I had a solution. I absolutely had a solution, and that was to go and take my own life. And I couldn't. To me, I'm like, yeah, okay, my family would probably be sad, but a couple of years I'll get around it. Like that's genuinely it's wrong thinking, but it is the thinking. And that's the only way forward. So you go, yeah, no, I'm good. So I went and saw my psychologist, saw my psychiatrist, and they're like, no, you seem to be doing a little better. But I do suspect they see that a lot, and they probably wonder. But yeah, effectively, I picked my time, and I went home and gave it a red hot crack. So,
Wow.
Yeah, it was full on.
So you really just got to a point in your life where you just
Couldn't
everything.
see forward.
Couldn't see the light.
I couldn't see the way out. Like how do you get out of that financial hole? How do you feel better about yourself. Like if you can't, have a decent relationship, you can't make $1, you can't, you do feel like a worthless piece of crap.
So your sense of self-worth
it was like PTSD from school. Like it was just this sense of, everything caved in on me, really heavily caved in on me. And it was really tough, really tough.
I mean, that decision, like how long had you made that decision previous to then,
I definitely ideated about it for sure. You have some very graphic thoughts about how you're going to go about it and like what you're going to do, and you think through the stuff, and like it's you get comfortable with the thoughts, and that's where it gets quite dangerous, because normally if you thought about I'm going to throw myself off here or do this or do that, you're going to go, well, that's scary, that's a terrible idea, but for someone going through that loop, they're thinking this will be over and that's it, it'll be over. It's like a relief. You're like, oh my God.
And what did you think? Did you think that was just it? It was just going to be black space forever?
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't know what no one knows what's out there. I'm not a religious person, but I just knew that whatever I was going to was going to be better than this.
That is so heavy, mate.
Yeah. So you got to the point, so your solution to, a lot of the dramas you've been through your life was just to end your life.
Yep. And, it wasn't the first time. Like when you're young and a teenager, you probably have like stupid sort of semi-cracks at it. And I had sort of done that, but it wasn't real. It wasn't like this time. This time was like, one of the things is people who are talking about it, look, you do never know, but there's the ones that don't talk about it. And that's dangerous, right? Because it just comes out of the blue. Because they're happy and they will project this happiness. And this, for me at least, and everything's great, I'm going well.
That is a scary thought to think that, when you sort of puff your chest out and you're absolutely, you're at peace with it.
Yep, because you're trying to get everyone off your back a little bit, and and get through it and be like, yep, cool, right, now I've got my opportunity. No one's going to suspect it. No one's going to be there to catch me. It's going to be great.
I think this might be a good time just in the chat to remind anyone listening that, if these bring up any thoughts for anyone that, they are loved and that there are services out there that they can access, because you're here now and you are alive and kicking.
Couldn't be happier.
And it's well worth hanging around. So this is probably one of the heavier conversations we have had. But this is the reality of what we're dealing with. So
I guess without going into the detail, because it's not great, but I had effectively gone through with it, and I don't know, there's a wave of fear went over me, and I do think this. I mean, look, you'll never know, but I'm sure that people who've been through this, your natural instinct is to live. I've been whitewater kayaking down big rivers, and I'm upside down, and I can tell you after a minute and a half without any air, you are ready to live. It's it's just that fight mentality, fight or flight, and it came over me, and I thought, I don't even know what I thought, but I very luckily, and I trust me, I had made it so it wasn't easy to get out of it, right? Like it wasn't easy to get away from my situation. It was good, and anyway, the fear kicked in, and I got myself out of that situation, and by this stage it was early morning, and I just collapsed and cried, and I was an absolute mess, and I think I made the right call. I called my mum. I said, Mum, I'm really struggling. She could just instantly tell. It's mother's intuition. She knew I'd been doing it tough, but I don't think she knew to the extent, because I had projected that I was doing better. And look, honestly, my family was around like a shot, and it was the first time I've seen my dad cry. And I mean, like, really cry. Like, he was just so upset. He was gutted. And didn't think I'd get...
he would have been scared.
Yeah, that's right. I just... I haven't really talked about it. It's hard to talk about still.
Oh, mate.
I didn't think I'd be like this, because I'm pretty okay with it. Like, it's... and just seeing how upset my family was, at that point in time, I still didn't give a shit. I knew they were sad, and I'm like... But... For me, I was also angry at myself that I hadn't, managed to, because there's just another thing that I'm shit at, right? Can't even get that done, And I know that sounds terrible, but
Fuck, mate, you were in a dark place.
Oh, it was dark. It was so dark. And I just, then I got, whisked away and watched 24/7 and put on the worst drugs of my life. I literally lay on the couch for days.
You were just dormant.
I was awake,
Yeah.
but I wasn't. I was asleep.
You weren't responsive.
Oh, catatonic. Catatonic. I needed that. And the thing about it, I've got what I would consider to be high functioning depression because less than a week later, I'm in doing exams at uni. But no one knows, but it's a weird way to compartmentalise it. I've got to be honest. It took some working through for sure.
So it kind of didn't. It's obviously a traumatic event, but it hasn't
hit home.
It hasn't sunk in or hasn't left you.
Because you honestly, what I would say to people, right, is it does get better, and it won't get better immediately. It won't. It absolutely won't. You'd be lying if you said it did. But it does get better, and you need to give yourself the time, and you need to forgive yourself. You really do. People are going to band around you, and they're going to help you through. And at one point in time, that's my rock bottom. I've hit that rock bottom. But now I can touch the bottom and I can push off. And you're not going to push off hard for sure. And I just spent many, many months, getting more help and just trying to find my life again, find my feet, move back home. Yeah. It was definitely tough. I had some rough days and I still had thoughts about that.
Mate, I'm intrigued by, you're going and seeing psychiatrists and psychologists, a couple of days a week, and you still got to such a dark point where you were, ready to check out.
Yeah.
Were you sort of just going there? I'm trying to explain this as in just
going
sort of just
going.
motions. Yeah, but you're sort of just for instance, it's like going to the gym, but you weren't really doing anything. You're just sort of there, and you're sort of telling people, "Hey, I'm going to the gym."
Yeah,
you weren't really
we
working
definitely
out.
Spoke through some stuff, and I worked through a bunch of stuff. But I think sometimes you are at your wit's end, and nothing, at that point is getting through to you. It takes time, and that's
and
the other thing. You need instant solutions,
but you need to want it, as in
you have to be wanting.
Sorry, you want to need it. You need to have to make that change personally, and you obviously were not at that position.
I wasn't ready.
No matter what they were saying,
I thought I was ready.
Yeah, but it meant shit all to you because you were just look, this is not me.
Yeah, that's right. Because you need to get to that point where you are willing.
Yeah.
No one can drag you to that. And I think people who've had that, you think you're there supporting someone and they go through with it. Nothing you could have done could have stopped that.
Yeah, because it literally is up to you, no matter what. And it's you speak about it all the time, no matter and not people being in the severity of where you were at, but just every day, everyone's got mates. I think, Rock, I'd really love to help Steve-O out, but how do we help Steve-O? And it's well, you can't help Steve-O unless he helps himself.
Yep.
It's just never going to happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%.
100%. I think that's so important out there because, Dan and I, and you'd get asked as well all the time, how do I help someone? It's you just need to sort of be there. And one day they will come.
Just listen.
Yeah.
Be a listening board. Because sometimes people, especially for men, look, none of us are great at talking about it. But you just need to get it out. And if someone's having a whinge, generally there is something behind it. There's something that's going on and they need to get it off the chest.
And it probably won't start as that, but it'll eventually come out.
It will. Yeah, it will. And it takes time. It takes time.
So how did that recovery process look?
Is
that
lumpy?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty lumpy.
What age? What age are we talking?
25.
Okay.
So just starting to find myself, and it's funny. I don't know. I got in and I got through stuff, and life gradually improved. It wasn't brilliant, but it got better. And I just knew in my heart of hearts that I never wanted to be there again. And that's when I was ready. I was absolutely ready. I was like, I never want to get myself to that position again. So I will do everything I can to not be there. Now, that's taken from then to now, right? And it's ongoing.
Yeah, it's not just, you just
I
wake up.
I didn't just cut it off. That's, we're good. Let's roll on.
I mean, and that's
it took time.
People don't understand that. It's everything's a work in progress.
Absolutely. I just started devouring books and anything I could to find that nugget.
I wasn't expecting you to say books. I was expecting it to be chocolates or some.
Ice cream. I was just eating Nutella ice cream every night.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I am lucky that I've never had the the want or need to hit the drugs or I probably drank a little bit and that wouldn't have helped. I'm pretty cautious around that. I don't like anyone I like a drink, but I know when to cut out. During that period, actually, I did have some absolute benders. Yeah. Absolute benders.
Yeah.
And it just makes you worse. So it's
It's that Band-Aid again, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you started, your appetite for knowledge.
Yeah, it
increased.
grew, and then I ended up getting a job. Would you believe, a corporate job? And look, it absolutely wasn't for me. It took me a long time to see that too.
What sort of a corporate job was it?
Wasn't for
I was
me.
an estimator.
An
at a
estimator.
building company.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's pretty related.
Yeah, look, I wanted to get into commercial construction because I thought, I'll join the big boys. I'll learn what it's all about, you know. But
unionise.
Not like that. But I wanted to use my skills, and I wanted someone to coach me and be like, teach me all this stuff that I thought I didn't know. But I did know it. I just didn't know how to apply it, didn't know how to extract it.
It hadn't all pieced together for you.
It hadn't.
Yeah. Sometimes you've just got to figure it out yourself as
you
well.
Do. Yeah, you do. And then so a bit prior to that, I got invited along to a party and I met my wife.
That night.
Great.
Yeah, great. Yeah, same
great
thing,
place to meet them.
Yeah, that's right.
How you doing?
Yeah, and look, it was really unexpected. Having a stable relationship, at least, I think stable relationships is very important anyway.
You need your co-pilot.
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do. And this was a girl I didn't expect to be able to. She's very mature, a bit younger than me, but mature. Which wouldn't be hard to be more mature than me sometimes. But I found it really easy to talk to her about everything, and I just didn't hide anything. I'm like, this is 110% me.
Got to own your shit.
Yeah, I did, and I'm like, and if you're not prepared, well, there's the door.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't mean it meanly, but look, she's great.
We're going to beat around the bush. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that, from obviously previous relationship experience that wasn't the way to go forward. You just got to be there. You don't get in a relationship, I think, to change somebody. You get in there to, cohabit and then learn from each other.
Yeah.
And collectively go forward.
Yeah. That's a good way.
She had her stuff to deal with, and together we deal with it.
And I mean, let's paint the picture now. You're happily married, got a son on the ground.
Yeah, I honestly
got a mini mutt.
Yeah, he's a legend. I love him. And this is the other thing too. And it takes a parent to realize it, right? You'll hear your parents say, "Oh, you don't realize how loved you are."
Yeah,
you absolutely do not realize how loved you are until you have a child, because this little thing comes into the world, and for men, it's not real until it hits the ground. I was saying to Ed before, when my wife gave birth, for the first time in my life, I was actually speechless. I didn't swear. Wow. And this little fella turns up and
he's going, what? Wow.
Yeah. He's like, what's wrong with you, mate? Giving me all sorts of looks. And anyway, turns out I was the father. That's a win. And honestly, the love you feel for a child is, it's different for the love you have for your wife, obviously, but it's amazing. It's so good, and you realise how much and how bloody precious you are. Because for you to get to this point in your life, do you realise the crap that your parents have had to put through to get you there, to keep you alive?
Literal poo,
but literally, no one brings a child up to have them die. No one brings a child up to have them die. Everyone is just so special, and I realise that more than ever.
How precious life is.
Yeah, even the worst person in the world is precious to somebody, right? We're all equal. We're all people. Yeah.
It's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to sort of go back to, where you were and what you know now. How, what would you say to yourself back when you were getting into those
dark
positions?
thoughts? Yeah, look, that's I've never really been like that before.
Maybe not like what would you say
to
yourself, but
what
like
would you do differently?
the change, the change in perspective and what you know.
So now I know that a thought's a thought, and it doesn't mean anything unless you act on it, right? So you can have that thought, you can sit with that thought, you can get comfortable with that thought, and you can let it pass. And now I'm very good at letting stuff go, really good at it. And I have worked very hard at being able to let stuff go. It wasn't me. You do learn to also, if you see a thought train coming on, I've just trained myself. I'm like, oh, yep, that might be what I think's happening, but it is not the reality of the situation. Let's break this down. You're going to be okay. Right. you're all right. Yep, right. I move on.
So is that something that you do with other people, as in talking it out with someone, or is it something you're still doing internally?
Internally,
Yep.
yeah, for sure. Like I've got my own internal monologue. Gets pretty interesting in there sometimes.
I think all of ours does.
Yeah.
Who would narrate yours?
Ooh, that's a good question.
You can think about it. We'll get back to it. That's a harder question.
That's a
than the
harder
other
question.
One.
Yeah, it'd be a good story.
Yeah.
Look, definitely, and obviously, I'm one of those people who likes to talk to people and flesh it out many times. And my wife will tell you that she's like, "Stop banging on it," and I'm like, "But it's just my way of getting it out."
Yeah. Well, it's ways. Sorry to cut you off, Derek, but it's sort of ways that it's how you work things out. It's when you're talking. I'm assuming like you talking it out. It's not so much so they can give you feedback. It's sort of so you can hear it coming out, and then you're like, oh, now I know where I'm going, and you find the answer within yourself, but
Absolutely.
you're just speaking it out loud.
Yeah, it's one of those things too. You learn when you, as you know, when you get married or you're in a good long-term relationship. That I think everyone wants to be heard, right? But as blokes, I'm a solutions provider. If my wife comes home with a problem, I'm like, oh, you just need to do this, this, and this, and this, and that's it. Action it. Come on, get it done. Whereas in that situation, you just want to be heard. And it's the same, I think, for a lot of women. They just want to be heard. And because I try to provide solutions to my wife. She's like, I just want to be heard.
Yeah.
Don't need your solutions. I'm fleshing this out on my own, but listen. Yeah, so I think that's really important.
I think I was kind of thinking we'd probably talk about a bit more building stuff, but I think it's completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
We can say that. We can say that for Dwayne Pearce because this is far more important. I think what I think is one of the biggest things we talk about a lot, and one thing that I've discovered in this mental health space is, I mean, what you were talking about it before about, you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves.
No, you can't.
How important for you has been the process of taking ownership of everything you've been
important.
through?
You know, like you do have to own it, but as I said, you have to forgive yourself. You really do. Like, you know, this is something that doesn't define me. It's something that's happened in my life. From looking back on it now, it's a speed bump in the road.
That's probably built a fair bit of resilience.
Oh yeah,
But that's a powerful way of, forming that and structuring that, because it could be so like you'd be in your right to just sit there and still
wallow
be
in it.
and just be like, oh,
but that's learned helplessness, right?
yeah. But like, I mean, that's and there'd be a lot of people out there that are going through that.
Do and look, it's very hard to get through. It is tough, but you need to just know that you can get through it. You need to just try whatever works for you. You know, like I've tried a bit of meditation, a bit of cognitive behavioural therapy, podcasts and audiobooks for me is really good. I like to get right into them and I listen for hours on end. And for someone who can't concentrate for more than 5 seconds, like you'd be surprised how long I can listen.
So that was sort of heading to my next question was sort of, what do you do now to look after your mental health and well-being? Like, what is your...
Well, often my wife is like the only person I can actually, go and see and give her a hug, and she just calms me down massively.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
I'd give you a hug.
Yeah, I know. It wouldn't be the same. But
Get in here.
It wouldn't be
but
the
I'll
same.
take it.
How do you know? You haven't tried one of my
We'll give it a
hugs.
go later. I'll let you know.
No, I don't want to anymore.
Oh, come on. Don't be like that. But yeah, so having that person I can go to and she can just be there for me,
Yeah.
really good.
She's your rock.
She is my rock. Absolutely, she is. I talk to my parents a lot. They don't always give me what I want to hear, but you need to have someone who tells the truth, right? You do. My wife will definitely tell me the truth for sure too. There's no, no lying to each other. I think you're an idiot. Okay, cool. Why? This is why. All right, fair enough. That's important. Taking ownership of that. I used to take my dog to the park a lot. She's getting a bit older now and I'm also a bit time poor, but having a dog really helped me too, because you've got this mate who doesn't care what you are, who you are. They love you.
They're the best of listeners.
Yeah. Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like they just, mate, you're the duck's nuts. So yeah, no, having a dog was really good. And then, getting back to my passions and even just exercising and so now how I manage it is I exercise regularly, and I make sure that I feel fulfilled when I'm doing stuff. If it's not bringing me, I don't want to sound like Marie Kondo, but if it's not bringing me joy, I don't do it anymore.
Marie
right?
Kondo.
Yeah,
Yeah, so good. Yeah.
Does she say that? Is that a
if
line?
it doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it.
Yeah, right.
But I
She's the
don't
bird
watch
that pulls everything out of your house and throws it out.
Throws it out.
Yeah.
Usually waste.
Nah, she's a minimalist too.
Mate, she'd have a field day at my place. I got way too many toys. But yes, and that's why I like some of the sports that I partake in. It's a great community, right? Like I'm into my climbing, as you guys know. I'm, pushing for some of these big mountains, and I really enjoy it. But what I really, really like about it is you are stripped down, and you have to trust that person, and you're going to be on that mountain together for the better part of 24 hours at the minimum. You better learn to like them.
You have to trust that person in terms of tying knots and,
they're your lifeline.
Putting everything in place on the way up, and you're switching positions and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. And you build this trust in each other, and you become really good friends.
Yeah.
And you can talk about anything. It's really important.
That kind of, I think maybe that's like a bit of vulnerability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Definite vulnerability.
Once you strip yourself back, you sort of, there's no time for bullshit then after that.
Yeah, that's right. And I've been accused of wearing my heart on my sleeve, but you know what? I think if you own it and you put it out there, no one can blackmail you, because you're like, yeah, that's me. Whatever. And I've taken time to get comfortable like that, but that's it.
Yeah, you're right. It is a good way of doing it. You see it with pretty sure it was like Barack Obama that did that, like when he was sworn in, he was like, I smoked pot when I was in high school, so if you're going to come out and bring that out, I've already admitted to it.
Yeah,
so,
here it is.
Done.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is a good way of living it.
Yeah, for sure. And just the exercise too helps me regulate myself. I've been a bit slack this week, I have to be honest, but had other things going on. So yeah, and just genuinely being open and honest with people. I don't talk shit, I don't lie, because it always comes back to you anyway. So no point.
And that continued, I guess, mental health journey. Do you still check in with a professional every now and then, or?
I talk to my doctor. Obviously, he's known me since a kid, but
yeah,
I currently haven't felt the need to.
Yeah.
I will go and talk to someone if I need to. Absolutely, I will. Yeah. But I've got mates too. We check in with each other, and we're pretty good at doing it now because we sort of recognise this stuff.
Yeah.
And because the space in mental health has changed. People are aware that people have these issues, and it's not uncommon, because previously it was like, oh, don't tell anyone you've got depression, you'll never get a job again.
Yeah.
No one will employ you.
Yeah.
That's not the right way to go, So it doesn't change who I am.
No, well, 100%. I mean, it's not,
It's this much of me, like it's two parts of nothing.
Yeah, but I think even more powerfully, good words, mate. Even more powerful is just the fact that you've been through that, you've recognised it, you've owned it, and it's now, I mean, again, back to that resilience piece. I mean, it's kind of invaluable.
It is, like, it's a life lesson I needed to learn. I probably didn't need to go that far, but,
Yeah, you definitely went to the edge.
Yeah, for sure.
And just to go back to that one line that you said about you having been to the bottom and you can now push off it. I mean, that is just so bloody true.
Yeah.
Right? And I think
catch yourself too. You see these patterns and you're like, oh no, I recognise that. I know when I'm getting depressed because I can't get out of bed in the morning. And I'm like, oh, this, all right, okay, I need to go and jolt myself, however that may be, and like go out and have a bike ride, go to the gym, go and give my little boy a cuddle, just see how great life really is,
And on the building side of things, interestingly, you went through you had your trials and tribulations as an apprentice and a young operator, but what are you, the CEO of Hammered Constructions now?
Yeah.
Is it? What are you, the director? What do you like to refer to yourself as?
I think title's not really important, to be honest, but look, you can call me whatever you like.
Yeah, and so that's going really well for you?
It is. It's going really well. So having done the Master of Business, I realised that I do actually have some self-worth and there's something there. And that was what it actually gave me is confidence to be probably vulnerable, really. And I'll go to a mate and I'll go, look, who's, particular expert in whatever, and I go, here's my numbers. Normally I'd be like, oh, you can't see my numbers, mate. You'll see how shit I really am. But if you can't be ready to own that and throw it out there, you won't improve, right? So I started searching and researching, and it's growing, and I'm really enjoying it.
And
awesome.
you just recently engaged the assistance of Big AK Anthony Kuhlman, Red Apple Consultancy, #456.
I did. So I met Anthony at university.
And so that was a bit of business coaching for
your... It was, yeah. And look, he really helped strip it back for me and put it in perspective, which was awesome. And then out of that, that really helped set the tone of where we needed to go. And then through that, I've got some boys that I'm gradually coaching through there, putting them through being supervisors, and just watching them flourish from just being chippies to, and not, obviously don't get me wrong, they're not just chippies, but realising how great they actually are and that they can do it. And people will be like, oh, that guy's a bit slow, but you're like, no, he might be a bit slow now, but you put the time into him, you watch.
Would you recommend other small business owners or builders out there go and actually, invest in that kind of help that you got from AK as well?
Yeah, look, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, because you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
But you do know that you don't know a lot.
Yeah.
So you need to know, that's, and they call
Quote.
it, yeah, the Dunning-Kruger effect, I think it's called as well, like where, confidence comes from people that have absolutely no idea what they're doing, right? True confidence comes from people that, like, you probably, now you know that you don't know. Know what I mean? So pretty roundabout.
Get out and find out what you don't
Get
know.
out and find out what you don't know.
Yeah, righto. Well,
absolutely. Financial education is super important.
Who'd have thought?
Well, that has been one of the heaviest chats we've had on this podcast. Yeah. There's no doubt about it, but it's been bloody powerful, mate.
I mean, it's definitely a heavy chat, but it's like it needs to be occurring more because, there's far too many people out there who are going through or have been through such similar things, maybe different circumstances, but
everyone's stories, so different.
Things, and I think that's the whole purpose of us talking about this stuff on this podcast is to try to normalise these conversations because it actually kind of is normal, you can get better from it, but it's normal for people to be going through.
And I hear it too,
stuff.
like people are like, oh man, I've never been through anything like that. I'm not, and I'm like, it doesn't matter because your situation is relevant to you and mine is relevant to me. It's not a competition. It's only relevant to you. So don't ever feel like you can't come forward because someone else has been through worse. It doesn't matter.
Fucking A.
I
love it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I for one am bloody stoked to have met you at Brett's Simmer Hardware.
Yeah, it was good.
And let's keep.
Here's to many more Brettspos.
Oh, Brexpo.
Brexpo.
God, don't tell Bill Nutting that, you bloody fluffed it. But here's the goal. Am I allowed to tell everyone the goal about getting that flag on top of the
absolutely go for
on
it
top of Mount
go
Everest?
For it because you put it out there, you have to do it. You can't.
Oh yeah, well this is on the podcast.
We've already put it out there.
There might be a little plan in place to get a Trademutt flag on the top of Mount Everest, but that's if
many other mountains.
That's if you can navigate your way past all the rubbish that's supposedly on that mountain. No, they cleaned it up actually. A heap of dead bodies. And all sorts of stuff up there, but. Yeah, you'll have to climb your way up there and stick that flag in.
No, I look forward to it, really do.
Hammer, thanks for your time today, mate.
Hammer.
It took Hammer time. Hamish Hammer.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, mate. It was bloody powerful for you to share that with us.
Yeah,
and
pleasure.
We really appreciate it. And hopefully, not hopefully, I know it's definitely going to help people out there. So
and let's get a lot more people talking openly like this as well because there's nothing like owning your shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When you can get through it, life can be so great. You just need to realise it.
Awesome, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, boys.
Cheers, on you, mate.